Okay, we'll take questions from the floor now. I'll take 3 questions, and after that we'll get the panelists to respond, and then we'll take questions from Philadelphia. Right. So, if anyone has any questions, raise your hand. I'll pass over the mic to you.
Oh, yes, difficult.
Parish Noor, I'm a school teacher. This is a question to all the politicians here. It's a hypothetical question. Do you envisage circumstances whereby elected representatives in this country, whether they are MPs or others, will be able to vote according to their conscience, rather than because Dato Saifuddin mentioned the party with a similar system which exists in Britain as well, and in modified versions in France and Germany. But will there ever be a time when you envisage the elected representatives in Malaysia will be able to vote according to their conscience and not necessarily on party lines, or not necessarily according to the needs of or wants of their constituents? Simply because if we look at the evolution of societies in places like Britain, for example, if you were to pose a question, do you support the death penalty in a public referendum, the overwhelming response would still be yes. It is the parliament where members of parliament voted according to their conscience that actually brought an end to the death penalty in Britain. Interestingly, when that happens, parliamentarians do not represent the interests of their constituents. They are voting on their own conscience. Do you envisage a possibility of that ever happening, whether on the federal level or the state level in Malaysia, on issues not necessarily related to the death penalty, but on other issues as well?
Can we take 2 more questions first?
Hi, my name is Zamira Ali. Talking about unity, I think equality is something that's very important for us to have unity as Malaysians. So my question is, do you think that Malaysians are truly equal, and why?
Maybe one more? Yeah, let's take both questions. Yeah. Don't really have that much time.
Hi, I'm Koki from Taylor's University. Just now I will bring up the single school system. I've spoken to some of my friends about this issue before, and some of them agree that there should be just a single education system because our education system is kind of messed up. Although recently the Deputy Prime Minister said we have one of the best in the world. It's like we have Chinese vernacular schools, Indian vernacular school, we have MRSM, we have Malay College Kuala Kangsar, and so on. And even our university is so segregated in the sense that one person, if he go to primary school all the way up to university, he might just be in a one single stream grade school. So isn't this a kind of blockage to Malaysian unity? And if whoever becomes the government today, I know there's a clause in the constitution that guarantee vernacular school rights, but do you see this happening? How would you make it happen, like unity through the school system? Although we are already so different in the school system, how can we make it unite? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Vedatya. So my question is, because some of the panels have raised about the representation of youth in politics and the implementation of relative politics in school and university level. So to what extent will this be effective in the long run? I think that's all my question.
Okay, can I just reverse the order and ask Dato Saifuddin to go first and then Edward to end? For issues to address.
Okay, when you take exam, you don't have to answer all questions. Referring to Farish's question, I think there are 3 things. Number one, I'm all for going without the whip, even if not all the time, but in issues that calls for greater debate, greater concern, and where at least once in a while, depending on the issues again, I think MPs and adults should be allowed to vote by their conscience. And in fact, you have mentioned in passing, which I think is also important. Perhaps it is about time that we look seriously into a legislature, into a way where we can hold referendum in this country. There are quite a number of fundamental issues pertaining to our everyday life and our future, which perhaps should not be left only to the MPs to decide. I'll give an example, PPSMI as one issue. The whole question about choice in schools, I think this is now the Kementerian Pelajaran is embarking on a total review, and they're going to engage all stakeholders in discussing the future of our schools, the future of our education. I think these are issues these are fundamental issues that warrant more than just politicians making decisions, but getting everybody on board, and perhaps these are issues that needs for some kind of referendum. But having said this, I think it is also the responsibility of MPs and adults to create some kind of mini parliaments or grassroots town hall meetings or what have you, so that when you go to parliament, you don't simply represent your own thoughts and your party lines, but also the people's concern. On a small scale, I try to do this by establishing a mini parliament that includes all stakeholders. I call it the Temeloh Parliamentary Consultative Council. We have met 6 times. We should have met 8 times by this time, but yeah, it's not that very easy. But the idea is to get ideas from the grassroots to be brought to Parliament. On unity, I think we have to bear in mind one thing. Every time I listen to discussions on unity, on the one hand, sometimes we try to make it so simplistic. On the other hand, we try to make it so complex. And by the time we listen again, we don't know where we are going. For instance, does it always mean that if you talk about race, then you are a racist? And does it always mean that when you decline or avoid talking about race, that then you are not a racist? Yeah. I give an example. UMNO is a Malay political party. For anyone who study psychology, I have a psychology student right in front of me here. You will know that it is primordial for people to group together according to their interests and according to their likings. So if that is the case, then I would be sinful also because I belong to a basketball club. I should not belong to any specific sports club. I should belong to a sports club and cannot become a member of a basketball club because the argument is the same, because I belong to one and not to others. Then both Nik Nazmi and me cannot support Liverpool. We are both supporters of Liverpool. So that's why we have many things in common, though we are from 2 different political parties. I know there are more MUs than Liverpool supporters in this hall. We just lost 2 points last night. Yeah. Anyway, and okay, I understand. For instance, there are parties who are, established as race-based. Then they venture into working with other parties, and they form a bigger umbrella organization, yeah, which make them, if not race-based at all, but which make them more accommodative to other race. There are also parties who were formed as a multiracial party, but didn't actually become a real multiracial party. Even if they are real multiracial, but when they want to elect certain office bearers, like vice president and something like that, then there is this understanding, quote unquote, that somehow every race is divided. So it is not. It is not that because you think you are not a race-based party, then you are not. I don't want to. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's easier said than done. We really have to inspect and look further into this, which I agree. And when it comes to school, I think there are many Malay college old boys who are very open to other race. And there are also so many old boys and old girls who come from mixed school who seems to be very racist when they become politicians. So again, it is not as simple as that. We really have to look at it. What is more important is for us to be inclusive in many other ways, like choices of subject in school, the offering of languages. Does it mean that you must wait until there is only 50? The rule now is when there is a minimum of 15 pupils in a particular school wanting to have a particular subject to be taught, then only it can be taught. Perhaps we can look at the numbers, whether that 15, besides I don't know where that 15 come from. We probably have to look at that. And then we have to be more inclusive as in to recognize long traditions as practiced in many of our good schools. UEC is one thing, and please I don't speak about recognizing UEC because I am a politician after 2008. And I've been talking about UEC since I was president of Persatuan Bahasa Melayu Universiti Malaya. Okay, so a president of Persatuan Bahasa Melayu Universiti Malaya was fighting to recognize UEC. Okay, and I come from Malay College Kuala Kangsar, and I support Liverpool. So we have to go beyond the normal, as I said earlier on, we have to go beyond the normal way of looking at things. We have to brave and bold enough to question things and to look at things from new angles and new perspectives. That I believe is the way to go. I believe I don't answer all questions.
Yeah, we'll pass it to Ning.